and saying, look these folks up, and they'll help you with a few pounds in England. And once I went to the States, a couple of dollars and what have you, because I really went on a partial scholarship, swimming scholarship, but I had to find some other monies also to go to college. So that gave me a real responsibility and an immediate need to do things myself, and the independence. You're so spoiled in Sri Lanka. We are always under the parents and your family and friends. Everybody looks after you, but once you go there, you're nobody. I realized very quickly I'm not Albert Idris Singha's son. So that's alone is realization, and there onwards you go forward. Excuse me. And I really decided to put everything into this opportunity which I was given. Good old days, Mahesh, not too many people got this opportunity to go to the States. The States was really not necessarily the country to go for further education. For higher studies, it was always the UK, and some, of course, went to India even then, and now, we have lots of people going. But hindsight, now the States have really taken off, and more than, you have followed up in those areas. 3,500 students go to the States every year for their higher education. There are lots of colleges who offer that kind of education in Sri Lanka now. So things have changed. But at that time, it was really a tough one. I mean, I didn't even have any Sri Lankan. For the first 8 months or so, I was dying for a rice and curry, and I couldn't even have a rice and curry because I didn't, university food wouldn't necessarily.
So you became battle hardened in pursuing overseas life.
Yes, and and again, I had to make ends meet, so I had to work while studying. That was another experience. You don't think of working at 18 years in Sri Lanka. You would, dare not work, leave alone. So that kind of toughing up was good, and I took up to it very well. I must say, it was a bigger shock to come back after 4 years, after finishing my degree, to Sri Lanka, than going there, because there you are thrown in, and then you do what you have to do. And it was an exciting 3 years for me. I finished my degree and then went on to do my master's for the 2 years, and wrapped up my college career in 5 years, basically.
What message does emanate from your decision to come back to Sri Lanka, whilst you would have continued to live in the US and maybe would have enjoyed better living standards?
Very good question. Actually, I came back and I got married, and then my wife wanted to pursue her studies in the States, because she also did an amazing major, dance, cum English, which is not necessarily one could pursue in any other part of the world, but States, yes, and she did an excellent job there. And when we went back, I had another opportunity to look into, because I hail from an optical family. I worked for an optical company, hoping to come back and work for the family business. So while all this was happening, we have, our first child also there. Our daughter Tyre was born in the US, and after a few months, my father came and visited us, and my mother-in-law was there, of course, right throughout, which was a great strength to us. But subsequently, Tata wrote this very, very touchy letter saying that, we educated you, we have taken you forward, I think the country needs people like you, and it was a
very emotional
type of note which I received from Tata.
I'm sure that would have been the chief Seattle letter to you in your life. The letter from your
I think so. And there was little pressures building up from my in-laws also. I must say they were also anxious to, more than us coming back, wanting the grandchild to be back home. So all that put together made a big difference, and we decided to really come back. Though I must say we had a very, very comfortable life, and things were going very smooth. But only when I came back, I found out that there are some debts to pay, and you have to pay them and go through life in order to really look up and come forward.
Well, it's a very interesting part in your life story, because this is a period where we are attempting to see a reversal of brain drain to brain gain, because if you look at we are a nation which funds especially secondary education and the tertiary education, giving free education to the Sri Lankan people, but most of the time we see that people leaving the country, the intelligence are leaving the country, and they never make a comeback. So this has created a pathetic situation, has plunged our economy, our country into dire straits in many instances, where we don't have people with correct insight, with correct attitude, with correct inner spirit to drive the nation. In that context, when you came back from the US, what were the different facets of Sri Lankan life that you found as strengths and weaknesses, probably in comparison to the life of a US citizen?
Yeah. Well, let's concentrate on the strengths, because Sri Lanka offers a lot more than what one could ever imagine or think, especially this region, India especially, multi-ethnic, the thinking is so different, spiritualities are different, but they all come together, unite under one India, or that's what we need here. I think we need to foster that more. And what I saw here was the, opportunity was there, and whatever said and done, Mahesh, you're a citizen of this country. I mean, whatever you do in America, you're a second-grade citizen.
You feel alien. You feel
in a way. I mean, though we have situations where we saw the first, black president, President Obama. I mean, it was an amazing thing. I supported him all the way through, because I follow very closely the American politics, and it was really neat that he came through. That kind of thing can happen there more than in Sri Lanka. But then again, come to think of it, it's happening in Sri Lanka too now. Yeah, not necessarily the typical A politician, comes into play, and I think we're going to see some changes in that direction. And it's very evident that we need that kind of change for the country to progress and for our nation to go forward, because it's only with that kind of, sometimes that kind of radical thinking, that kind of forward march, you could really clinch and go to the top. So coming back, to answer your question, while I saw the opportunity here, I also saw some, backstabbing, all that which is not necessarily happens in America. It must have happened at very high levels or whatever, but not at the working environment. In the working environment, if you're a professional, you do well, in material of color, creed, caste, you go forward, right? At Southern Optical, something which comes to my mind very quickly, which will wrap up the answer for you. I joined on an hourly wage, though I had my master's at that time in industrial engineering. I was selling at about $25,000 a year, and very clearly when I went for the interview, they said that, sorry, John, they used to call me John, I don't think we can really afford you. I said, sir, please, I really want to learn this business. You tell me the figure, here, I'll accommodate, we'll work together. So finally they said, okay, if minimum wage is $4 an hour, would you like to start at $4 an hour? I said, yes, I will. Because I wanted to learn the optics, yeah. And then he said, what are the other trades? And he started talking to me a little bit at the interview, and I said, I'm a non-smoker, teetotaler. They said, okay, I'll give you 50 cents on the hour. So I basically started at $4.50. But they saved that money on the insurance, obviously, because I don't smoke. So, but having started at the minimum wage, within 3 months, they realized, obviously they realized my potential. And I also talked out loud. I showed it to the top management that in this laboratory, the optical lab I was working, there were no procedures. There were no manual procedures. Like, say, for an example, Mahesh, the guy who works at the generator, doesn't show up on a day. The supervisor basically have to come there. You don't have a, backup. Or you can't read a manual and say, you do this adjustment, put the lens light this way, and generate it. There was no such formality. Though, remember, it's supposed to be the industrial nation in this world.
Yeah.
So I showed it to them. They said, okay, this brings about some opportunity. You can use some of your IE, industrial engineering techniques to do a manual of procedure. Then they got very excited.